X, so you can share this link with as many people as you possibly can. And we continue from here. So, Coach, we had such a great conversation last week. And we actually, as a matter of fact, just to let you know that we had people asking for more.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good. Thank you.
So,
It's good to hear that feedback.
yeah.
And we are here for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we begin off with, probably just a small recap of why it is, of what we spoke about
All right.
before we can get into something else.
That's okay. Thank you very much. So for listeners, we've been discussing about organization purpose. We started this conversation by discussing the individual purpose. God has created each one of us uniquely and very differentiated. So Flank, you're not me. I'm not you. Sharon, you're not Flank. And that's very important. But by virtue of us living in the world, we also impact each other. And through impacting each other is how God has allowed us to establish things.
Yes.
Those things could be institutions, businesses, innovations, institutions, businesses, and all that. So the fact that a human being has a purpose also implies that whatever we do in life, whether it's through career should have purpose. Businesses we do, business should have purpose. Organizations and establishments we create should also have a purpose. Now, what is purpose? We discussed that last time. Is a reason for existence. Most of the time, it's very easy to define what we do. And that largely the missional aspect. And even where we are going, sometimes it's not very hard in terms of a vision. So organizations are very clear with the mission statements and vision statements. But purpose statement is usually quite intriguing. And many organizations still struggle with that. So they'll tell you what they want to achieve. We want to be the leading, let's say, bank in Africa. That's a vision.
Yeah.
Or we offer credit services, or we offer humanitarian aid for an NGO. That's a mission. To offer humanitarian aid is a mission.
Yeah.
But why? That's a different conversation. Because the why is the reason for the existence. Why do we do what we do? And that's the biggest question today in this room. And research have shown, especially in the last decade, that organizations has been very clear in their purpose have actually produced more impact to the ecosystem they operate. So if you're within a sector, you're in real estate, if you're clear with your purpose, then it's very easy to impact the ecosystem. That is the space that you operate under. Number two is, of course, you're also able to drive a certain compelling sense of engagement with your own employees. In fact, we talked about last time that employees currently, even during interview, they're asking questions. Why do this organization exist? Why should I come and work for you? Because I also myself have a purpose as an individual. I want to work with an organization that is also fulfilling a specific redemptive need in the society so that I am partnering with you. So organizations that are not purpose-led are also kind of having a very high engagement levels. We all know that employee engagement is a big concern in the industry. People are barely really engaged. They're just doing the bare minimum to survive. So to drive that engagement, employees have to see some sense of meaning on what they do. And that's a quick background in terms of the purpose. And I know there are quite various tangents we can look at it. What does an organization that is purpose-led look like? I like calling such organization purpose-first organization. What does that mean? An organization that prioritizes the purpose before, let's say, profit, before transaction. So if you're running a business in, let's say, hospitality, you're more probably focused on the healthy, eating or the dietary needs for the people that are consuming your food than just closing that deal and land that ticket and that, POS, that receipt, which is purely transaction. Apparently, many businesses are more to close a transaction. That's why when people are coming to sell to you something, they are more rushing you through so that you give them money, and after that you give them money, that is gone. So we have reduced the essence of life to a transaction, and that's not sustainable. Organizations that are purpose-led, they are driven by the need.
Right.
In fact, one of the questions that I know I also was asked even after last meeting, some people who are reaching me on the DM, was, how do we establish organization purpose? Which is a good conversation. And I will say purpose usually stems from conviction of a need that is actually a real need, not an imagined, because you can also create a need.
Yeah. Yes.
If a human being has power to pour in, you will pour in, then you sell mwavuri. But that lane was artificial, and I hope you get what I'm speaking in parable.
Yeah.
We get it.
Sometimes you can create a need and then you offer a solution, but that was not really a need.
That's selfish, right?
But sometimes that's how business works, where sometimes you create a situation, then that situation, you know very well people will need something, then you offer that. That is not redemptive business. The conversation should be, are you clear on a compelling redemptive need? Something that is in people. God created us to be able to impact each other. And we are redemptive. My presence in existence in life today should be redemptive to the generation that I am within. And therefore, what I do, whether it's in my business, my company, should be contributing to that redemptive need in the society.
Yeah.
And what do we call that? That is actually how you impact. If there's no need, you can't impact me. Look at even when people come and tell you, hey, you have impacted me, you have transformed my life. Look at what exactly is making them say that. It means there was a need, and that need was met. So if you meet that need, automatically, you generate impact. There is value. Now, if you're looking at profit, profit will always follow what? Value. If you're meeting a need, that means you don't even have to overmarket yourself, because the need is there.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to eat?
Right.
There is need for food.
Yes.
Who doesn't want to be dressed? There is need for dressing. Not clothing. The dressing itself is the key.
Yeah.
So when you anchor your business or organization towards the need, there is sustainability. Why you find organizations sometimes struggling even in terms of sustaining their business, they have to overmarket and force products into people's throats. It's because there's no need. So you're trying to create a need, which is not there. So you have to invest a lot of marketing budget and pushing it through so that, people take that service or a solution. So I think that's a quick background, but I think we can have more conversation as we continue in this discourse here.
All right, thank you. So you call them purpose fast organizations.
Exactly.
So what characterizes, or how would I know if my organization has purpose fast?
Exactly. Now, one of it is actually what I've just described in terms of there is a clear conviction of a need that they meet.
Yeah.
There's a specific need that actually, and they will amplify it. I said last time when I was here, we were doing a research from last month, which we are here to publish, but we've so far reached out to 180 organizations in 18 sectors. And you're trying to check how they have mainstreamed purpose in their organization. Meaning, if you go to their blueprint is how organizations define their purpose, mission, vision, and then maybe values. I think that's what commonly we look at. And you're trying to analyze. We have already data for 180 organizations. Out of it, this morning, the data that we have, only 12 so far as at this morning, only 12 out of the 180 have actually mainstreamed the reason why they exist boldly in their corporate blueprint. Majority of them, they are putting vision. And I remember I said in the first meeting here, vision is quite very selfish. I'm speaking that in whisper. Because what is vision? Purpose is why you exist. Mission is what you do to fulfill that which you exist for. And then vision is the ambition. It's where you want to go and you want to reach. So if you want to conquer 10 countries, to be the leader, that's quite very selfish. So most organizations are more driven by that. So one characteristic for purpose-first organizations, they will actually amplify more the purpose statement. Even having that clear purpose statement, you'll see it very point blank. And that purpose statement is more addressing a specific need in the community and the society. But then, when you look at the culture itself, that characteristic again of a purpose-first organization, the culture is more human-centered. And this is very important for especially leaders, CEOs, and leaders in the market.
Right.
We don't do business for money. We don't do business for material things. It's actually for people.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, at the center of every engagement that businesses are doing, there should be a human being at the center. Not things, not items, not properties. At the center, there's a human being. And this is very, very divine. By divine, I mean, it's actually God authored. Because God had made sure that I don't grow carrots. Why? Because there's a farmer somewhere else growing carrots, and I'll reach those carrots.
Yeah.
The coat I'm wearing, I didn't make it.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
But whoever made it, maybe he made it because he wanted to generate revenue or sales. I don't know. But
Yes.
you know, at the end of the day, who is wearing it?
You.
Me.
Yeah.
At the center of the business, whether you're selling property, there is a family that you live in that property, and they are going to be nurtured in that environment. At the center of every business, there is a human. Now, purpose first organizations are human centered. They are very clear. And when you're purpose first, I don't know why you struggle with things to do it. Like now, currently, we are talking about climate change and all that. It is because some businesses were established, centuries ago, but because they were not human centered, they will do everything in a predatory way. We call it extractive way. You can want to call extractive business. Extractive is where you extract. Like, for example, you can learn an organization that is in financial services, whether it's a bank or whatever else. But you extract, and then what are you? You're leaving people more disempowered. So human-centeredness is one characteristic for a purpose-first organization. The third one, which is just mentioned somewhere in that process, is actually empowerment. They are more geared towards empowering, not dependence. So when you find an organization that is more wanting you to come again, and I know and I'm speaking this very carefully because I'm also a strategic consultant, management consultant, and we craft strategic plans for business and organization. And you'll try to build, philosophies in business where you talk about customer obsession. We want you to be obsessed with us so that you kind of addicted with us. A purpose-first organization is more for you to be redemptive. You kind of are empowering nature, meaning I'm making you more empowered such that almost you don't need me to that extent. I hope you get that what I'm trying to describe there. But when I make it so dependent, within the dependence, there's manipulation. And therefore, maybe I'm trying to make the experience to be more based on me, not you. Because remember, purpose is not for me. It's not for you.
Sure.
Purpose is for the other party, for the other, beneficiary. That means if I'm empowering, I'm making you more kind of independent on me. But look at most businesses, they want to obsess. And I know we do that because we want to do customer retention and that aspect. So we have a very thin line there on how do we do purpose-based engagement without necessarily being extractive and also manipulative such that we are hooking you so that you remain there giving us more sales and more revenue. It's quite a catch-22 there. The fourth characteristic is about the mindset of the organization.
All right.
Now, a purposeless, let me use the word purposeless. A purposeless organizations, when you go to their boardroom, do you know what they talk about? What will work best for our favor. And this is there's a very thin line here. So when people are going to discuss in strategy, what they'll be thinking, especially if it's more purposeless, they'll be talking about what will work best for us. In fact, in management, we'll call it competitive advantage. What will give us differentiate value. It's a very thin line. You have to be very careful here. I don't mean that is very bad. No.
Because I'm wondering.
But somehow within it, it's actually where you lose our focus.
Yes.
It's good to be, because purpose make you different. Because what you are called to do is very different. And there's no competition there. Because I am fulfilling something so unique that nobody else, if I don't do it, is actually to the detriment of the industry or to the sector. But when you go to the mindset of the people in the organizations, you'll find they say, what will work for us? So that, of course, we are beating everybody else. You get that kind of the mindset. But the purpose-led mindset is usually what will work best to help us multiply impact in the space that we are called to operate. That's a different mindset. So the other one is talking about what will work for us best, what will favor our competitive advantage. But our purpose-led mindset, they are more focused on what will work in the favor to help us multiply impact, not get more money. Multiply impact in the space, or call it an industry, that we have been called to operate. So if you're in financial service, you're talking about how will you multiply impact in the financial service to make more people empowered financially. If you're in real estate, how should we empower impact so that we can be able to have more inclusion and more affordability for housing and all that? It's a completely different. So it's beyond yourself. In fact, you find purpose-led organization, they will be more ecosystem driven. they will try to establish an ecosystem to house even others, collaborate even with others doing the same thing, so that they multiply impact together.
Yes.
Because if you are called to afford shelter for people, you don't have to do it alone. You'll be looking for how can we have a shared responsibility with others also affording the same, doing the same thing,
Right.
so that we can multiply the impact. It's not very selfish then, because together we do more. But when I'm alone, how would you feed the whole world, for example, if you are running a business in feeding?
Yeah.
So you'll find the mindset is quite very different. And the conversation in the boardroom will determine whether you're purpose-led or purposeless. In fact, there's a question I also usually ask. And this is especially for readers who are listening to me, more so the business people. What are the most important KPIs? KPIs is key performance indicators. In businesses and organizations, they will always do performance management after strategy. They will cascade and come up with metrics that measure success. A good question I ask most people, especially board members, I ask them, what are the top 3 metrics or KPIs, key performance indicators, that matters most to you? And automatically, most of them will tell you return on capital employed, return on investment, all those things, profitability, gross margins, and all. And they talk about that. I tell them, what you measure actually, tell me what you value.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the organizations who are purpose, they will tell you, they'll give you impact measure.
Yes.
So if you're in a media, I was working with a certain media company. Actually, they were telling us our monster is to reach out a certain million of people within Africa that are empowered. And I looked at it and I'm like, they are not telling you to raise those 2 billion and 100 billion. No. The metric that matters is, have we impacted 20 million people in Africa?
Yes.
That is an impact measure. So if you want to know what people value, ask them what they measure and what they actually prioritize as the metric. Now, if in your employees, in your organization, you keep on telling them, we have a target of 20 billion.
Yeah.
You know what? They will reduce their engagement to that organization to transaction. Completely to be transactional relationship inside that organization. But when you're telling them, we are here to impact 30 million people in Africa, who doesn't want to be part of that success?
No one.
No.
You want to be in that legacy of we impacted that million.
Right.
That story is worth telling.
Yeah.
But you know what? If you're purposeless, there's no story to tell. Would you come and brag and say, do you know what we created? We generated 100 billion. Do you think you'd be proud even saying that in an international global media like
Not really.
FM? I don't think
Not
you will. But if you have impacted humanity and you have transformed humanity, you have empowered, let's say financially, you have, let's say, a 2 million financially empowered citizen or Kenyans or Africans through you running the bank, and you're saying they are financially empowered, they have financial freedom. Who doesn't want to brag about that? You talk about it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So you people
Definitely.
clearly tell purpose first organization by even what they report, what they prioritize as the most important metric. But also the culture inside is quite purpose-led. Meaning, when I'm relating with you, I'm human focused. If a manager is relating with their juniors or their employees, the reportees, they allow that purpose-led conversation. Meaning, I want you to fulfill your individual purpose as we fulfill organizational purpose.
Right.
I see.
So those organizations will be very key on your personal growth, not just you delivering productivity. There's what you call productivity.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the productivity, but I also want to see how is Sharon fulfilling or kind of, getting closer to her purpose, fulfilling your own purpose within the organization.
Yeah.
So even the coaching and mentoring that is happening within that organization is quite very different. It's not coaching for performance. I know there's something called coaching for improved performance. That's purely still coaching for the performance of the organization mostly.
Yeah.
But it will be coaching for the realization of your individual purpose and potential, so that by you doing so, you'll also succeed in the organizational performance. So it's quite very different.
Wow. I'm thinking about how different this world would be if all organizations were like that.
Yeah.
Agree. But we've been mostly defiled by world ideologies. And I want to speak especially for faith-based ventures, because I think we can be the different.
We can.
We can't be the different. We will not be having, people who are being auctioned, financial embarrassment. the environment we're talking about here, because it means there are some companies that existed at one point and extracted things and defy the order, what you call the natural order. That's why we will have the nature reacting against us. It's purely because of no redemptive mindset. There's no purpose there. But if you are all doing, because purpose will always be positive, it's redemptive.
Yeah.
Meaning you cannot say you're doing predatory business, like what you've seen many where I give you, let's say, a loan, but I know very well this loan you won't repay. Is that purposeless? Not necessary. That's more predatory. And you have government sometimes when they were trying to say they are cracking down what you call predatory lenders, because there are so many people who actually have been financially incapacitated because of that. Because you get a loan, the interest rate is, let's say, 50%. Of course, you came there because there's a need. But what happens at the end of the day? Do I leave you better? I leave you more dilapidated and more worse. That is not redemptive. So you even fueling more poverty because of not being purpose-led.
Right.
Can you make money through purpose? Yes. I'll give an example. Hezekiah, we read this story.
I want us to hold this just a bit because Kennedy is up next with business, but then we'll be back. Hezekiah, remember?
Yeah.
Put a finger
Hezekiah.
on Hezekiah. We'll be back in a few. Kennedy.
The Business Line. It's just business.
Let's get down to business.
Isaiah. You were just
Hezekiah.
Hezekiah. Sorry,
Yeah.
Hezekiah.
Yeah. I wanted just to give a quick illustration of, sometimes it's people will ask me, can I run profitable business that is, purpose-led?
Purpose-led, exactly.
And people tend to think purpose-led organizations are charity.
Yeah.
It is not. You can run a bank that is purpose-led. You can run an insurance company that is purpose-led. You can run a real estate that is purpose-led. You can run a media house that is purpose-led. Because you're meeting a specific, unique need in the community and the society at that time. I always like to give the story of Hezekiah. We all know the Hezekiah story. You've been told, of course, at this time that the king in Assyria attacked the children of God. And what they did at one point is that at the upper stream, where the water comes from, they kind of were poisoning. They wanted to poison the water. And if you poison the water, let's say we get our water from Abadea. So if you poison water from Abadea, what will happen downstream? People who feed on the water, they'll die. So it was an attack of the enemy. So when Hezekiah was the king, what did he do? He actually commissioned a project where they dug a tunnel. It's called Siloam. In fact, that's where people talk about Siloam Springs. So they dug a tunnel down now, at the basement of the clast. And the way it was dug is that there are people who dug from the north side and others who dug from the south side. And the intriguing story is that they met at the middle, which even today it's intriguing in terms of how they didn't have GPS and all that. How would it have happened that they met at the middle? And they were able to pull water from, I don't know, Camp of David or something like that. And then the water came and fed the children of Israel. Now look at that approach. Can you run as an enterprise? Yes. Today people pay to go and walk through Siloam Temple. It's one of the biggest, what you call, tourist attraction today.
Yeah.
So you can run a whole tour farm and business through that venture. But
Yes.
look at it. What was the intent? So running the business, people paying, it's one of my bucket lists that I'll visit there very soon. And you pay money to get into that tunnel, to go and just have, that nature trail. And you pay money. So that's a business on one side. But look at the original intent of the tunnel. What was it doing? It was a redemptive venture. It was to actually redeem the children of Israel that time, that they could still access clean water during the war.
Yeah.
Now, the way I said people is, if you're a farmer, can you be that, Siloam kind of business that during the time when people are eating unhealthy food and likely to get cancer and all those other things because of eating the wrong food, could you be the person running farming and growing healthy food that is healthy for eating to protect human beings who could otherwise be eating food that is already toxic and later will cause them, health issue, health complication? Is that redemptive business? Yes. You'll have little outlets for, healthy food outlets or maybe organic market centers. That's redemptive. So you can still run it, but at the core of doing it, there's a specific redemptive need that you're fulfilling. I think it's the same example I give about the guy I met who is doing the boutique. Him is not selling clothes, he's dressing people. So dressing people is redemptive. Selling clothes is transactional.
Right.
Anybody can sell, but not everybody can dress you.
Absolutely.
That's a very different thing.
I see.
I met.
Sorry to cut you short. Say that, I remembered very recently I bought a piece of cloth. When I got home,
Yes.
mambo ilikuwa tofauti.
But you paid for it.
So I paid for it. So I
Yes.
went back
Yes.
to the guy and I
Yes.
told him I was here yesterday. Do you
Yes.
remember me? Even before I started with the cloth had issues.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember me? He says, you look familiar. I'm like, yes, I was here yesterday. And this is what you sold me.
Yes.
And this is the issue.
Yes.
He told me, sasa madam, mnajua sasa madam.
Kienda kwa mganga, kienda kwa
Goods
mganga,
once sold.
kirudi. Cannot
I
return.
didn't even stand there twice. I just, for 2 minutes, I just left.
Exactly.
Yeah,
In fact, that's the problem you have. I think I talked about last time. For those maybe who are listening for the first time, there's this aspect of clearing stock. You've bought some things, whether it's property, clothes, electronics, then you're clearing stock. That's the kind of a person you met.
Yeah.
So they are not doing business literally with interest of you. It's nothing redemptive there.
Yeah.
But they want to clear stock. Why? Hey, I need to buy some stuff for my family. So for survival. And I think I shared statistics last time here. Over 67% of business actually are not driven by purpose. They are more either something you're passionate about, that's still a bit selfish somehow, or for survival, but not for anything redemptive. Now, how can you build a legacy for such a business? Now we get even back to the question of characteristics of purpose-first organization. The only way you can build legacy is indeed you are doing the business or that organization that you are running was for a redemptive cause.
Right.
You can actually have your children inherit. Let me even give you some of the shocking statistics in terms of, and I'm happy like there was that research I've had from, I don't know, the business news about the family-led organizations.
Yeah.
But barely will organizations currently see the third generation.
Yeah.
In fact, we are not able to transcend our organization establishment beyond the second generation. Very few of them, less than 15%. Why? Because if you are running a business as a family, for example, and you just leave your children with, it could be the wealth, the asset value, the balance sheet. Let's call it the balance sheet. You leave them with the balance sheet. Do you know they cannot sustain that balance sheet?
Yeah.
But if you leave them with the conviction of the why we started this business, the balance sheet may vary and change, but that business will continue.
Keep running.
Because they know the reason why the business. I'll give a story of a family I met who do what you call meat. They run chain of butcheries.
Okay.
I was buying, some, Christmas. Sometimes we go to buy these boozy for the Christmas. So I met a gentleman there who is one of the sons of that family. He told me this is a family business, and it has been there for almost 100 years now.
Wow.
And he told me, Gabriel, we have been learning this business, and we were left this business by our great grandfather. And the grandfather, when he was dying, actually, he left them and told them, I think they fed some missionaries at that time, those 18 something. There were some missionaries that their great grandparents kind of were hosting that time, and they were doing the livestock farming. And when the grandfather was dying, he told the children that this business help us accommodate missionaries over 100+ years ago. May it never die. He left that kind of a conviction in them. Now, this guy was telling me, do you know what, Gabriel? In our family, we have lawyers, we have engineers, and we've gone into other careers. But do you know the only business that have succeeded? Because they have still maintained that business even today. They still run chains of butcheries. They do some ranches where they keep goats and cows and all that, and they sell meat. They tell us we don't struggle in this business that is coming from our great-great-grandfather. But in our own, my brother runs a raw farm somehow. At one point, he's struggling. But when he struggles, he falls back to the engineer, go runs a few stuff, and then when things are not doing right, you go and fall back to them. And he was just trying to give me the testimony of the generational business heritage. And that's legacy. And God has also, run his purpose through generations. And sometimes I also tell people, even families, look at your family lineage. Sometimes you might be struggling here coming to study some other courses, architecture and all that. And maybe there's a DNA within you, within your family, that God is propagating. Because even in the word of God, there are people he called in the families where you find a family that was more inclined toward playing the harp. Those are musicians.
Yeah.
Now try to bring an engineer from that family. You struggle.
Yeah, sure.
And there were guys who are good in other things, in farming, in livestock, clearly, and all that. But apparently, because of need for competition, I want to be like you. And I want to kind of compare myself with another family. We have lost even the generational family heritage, which is where actually we should be drawing our legacy from and land very profitable purpose-led ventures.
Wow.
Yeah.
We could go on and on and on. We have only 2 minutes.
Wow.
To wrap this up, Coach Gabriel, how do
right.
we finish?
Yeah, I think my encouragement is that even when you probably have started your venture, and this, it could be for profit or even non-profit organization, we are all joined at the hip by one thing: the impact. In fact, I even tell NGO leaders, you're also in business. Why? You're generating value. There's a human. We say that the center of every transaction, there should be a human experience. There's a human being somewhere, because God is interested in the human being. And even as we do business and even land organizations, they are all to be able to also help show and dispense God's grace to them.
Yes.
Whether it's through an organization or that, they should see God. So I want to encourage you, especially business founders or people who are learning ministries and organizations, at the heart of what you're doing, God has an agenda to provide a redemptive grace to the people that you are ministering to. And that's why we say right now, the greatest revolution or revolution in the marketplace is coming from actually the market itself, not from the pulpit. So if you're in business, if you're running a children's home, if you're running an organization or a society and all that, be encouraged that God has an intent to fulfill his purpose through that organization.
Right.
And you can be able to run profitably a very sustainable venture and still be able to fulfill God's purpose upon your life.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Coach, for coming. Thank you for that impactful conversation. We thank God for you. Continue
Thank you for having me.
to work your purpose.
Thank you.
All right.